Good morning to everyone, and welcome to the Paris Peace Forum. My name is Giampiero Catozzi, and I work for the United Nations Development Program as a senior electoral advisor. Today, I will be presenting a joint project that we have developed with the European Commission, which is an early warning and early response mechanism that is developed and deployed within the context of electoral assistance projects. First of all, maybe as a background, both the UNDP, United Nations Development Program, and the European Commission have been in a partnership in the field of election for the past 15 years. This partnership has been very successful, as it has allowed us to work in over 15 sorry, because it says that I am no longer online. I hope that I am. Let me continue as if I am. We have worked together in over 175 elections, which has given us a lot of experience in understanding what are the issues at stake. So we have worked in very different contexts, whether post-conflict, whether second or third generation, or in context of stabilization. The issues at stake are obviously very different. Nevertheless, what we have seen is that even in elections that are technically well organized, conflict, tensions may arise and can lead to further, let's say, can lead to an escalation of violence if they are not dealt with in the appropriate manner. For this reason, we have, together with the European Commission, so the UNDP and the European Commission, developed this new tool that we are launching in most of our electoral assistance projects. So maybe before I start, a couple of principles that the two organizations have decided and that we take into consideration every time that we develop and we deploy this type of project. First of all, the early warning system is always either managed by a state institution or by a civil society organization, or a hybrid of the two. So the principle here is that we are trying mainly to put together state institution and civil society to work together and to respond together to issues related to electoral violence. The second principle is that is a principle of complementarity. We want to ensure that we are not duplicating other efforts. So any early warning and early response system that we are deploying is the fruit first of an assessment mission, and so that we see what is being done already in the country, whether we can, let's say, make it better, to have an added value. Secondly, it's the principle of multi-actors. So this is really, as I said, putting together state and non-state actors, but it's also a variety of state actors. It can be human rights commission, it can be electoral commissions, security forces, putting all these together, religious leaders. On the other hand, the non-state actors can be a variety, CSOs representing youth, representing women, or representing religious leaders, and so on. Thirdly, this is about long-term capacity building. So we are there not to ourselves do and provide the early warning system, in the sense that the United Nations and the European Commission provide the system and let it implement by national stakeholders. We do that by creating the capacity of doing it, providing the technology, providing the tools, but then we withdraw. And once the capacity is there, the UN and the EU will not participate in the early warning and early response mechanism. So as I said earlier, also, before we actually deploy such a tool, we will do an assessment mission. We'll design the early warning system and its architecture, because obviously what you will see in the presentation is that there is no two tools that are equal, meaning that wherever you are, you need to adapt it to the situation. As we said earlier, you can work with a human rights commission, but you can work with an electoral commission. You can have a bigger accent with the CSO. So the design and the IT structure that will come from it will depend very much on this assessment mission. We, during this assessment mission, then will feed into the development, or let's say the customization of the existing IT platform that we have. We also, during this assessment mission, decide the protocols. So we design the protocols, meaning how will all the actors communicate among themselves to ensure that the information is then gathered into a central design. We also work on the training modules. This is very important. It's capacity building, but there's a lot of training and a lot of people are to be trained, because obviously it's a very advanced ICT structure, but it needs also the training on the protocols. So we design this training. So the accent of this early warning system, as I said, is strengthening, first of all, the national actors to mainly collect information, the analysis of that information, and the promotion and the information sharing at the national level through all the different actors, and to coordinate based on all these information, coordinate the response. So the early warning and early response system, as I said, first of all, there is a software. So we have developed a 1.0 software, if you may, that is managed through this structure based in Brussels, which is the EC-UNDP Joint Task Force on Electoral Assistance. So what I was saying earlier, this partnership between the two organizations on election. Within this task force, we have the software. And whenever we decide to work together in one country, and based on the needs assessment that I spoke earlier, we have a software which is ready. So the big development of the software has been finalized and paid for. So it means that now is really a question of customization, and you will see later on in the presentation what the software can do. But I would say that here what's important is really to have a historical memory based on the different projects that we will be implementing, adjusting the software and ensuring that the costs diminish every time we go to another country. The early warning and early response system will always have in the capital a situation room. The situation room is centrally located. And what you will see also through country examples that I will be given is that in the situation room is where you coordinate the flow of information that arrives, but also the response that you will be given. So within that situation room, you will have the different actors, so representative of the different actors, be it from the Electoral Commission, Human Rights Commission, police forces, CSOs, and so on. And what you will also see through the different country examples is that the Situation Room receives information from the field in different manners, either through the platform itself, so through an app, or by phone with a hotline, or by SMS. So usually it's a combination of the three, because in the countries where we operate, you don't always have 100% coverage of mobile internet or mobile phone or SMS. So we need this three-tier type of flow of information. What you see in every early warning and early response system is monitors. Usually the monitors are from civil society organizations. So they will be the one providing and monitoring incidents that will be the fruit of the development of indicators. And this is, I will go also a bit further in the presentation in countries, but the indicators are really the basis of the early warning and early response system, because it's based on that you will decide what type of incidents you want to report. So this decision has to be made with all the stakeholders. So with the different civil society organizations, with the police, security forces, human rights, electoral commission. And because of this variety of stakeholders, the number of indicators can be very high. So it's very important to streamline them. What's important also is to remain very flexible, because we need to always adapt to the need. So on the electoral period, because this is a long-term early warning and early response system, the indicators will be on violence, will be on specific incidents that may disrupt the electoral process. It may be different to in-between ballots, the indicators. So the platform will adapt always with all the stakeholders in changing the indicators if need be. But what's important here is to say that the indicators change from country to country and are developed in consultation, usually through a day or 2-day workshop with all the stakeholders. So these are very lively discussions, but lively discussion to get to what is the most important. What are you reporting on? Secondly, in the Situation Room, you will have the data analysis team. So because you receive so much information that you need to not only store it into the platform, because the three types of information that are arriving, whether this is through SMS, whether this is through a phone call or directly on the platform, it needs to be inserted in the platform itself, apart from when you do it from the app. So the analyst will insert that information in the app. So live, you will be able to see the incidents. But what is more important is that the data analysis team will be able to draw trends in either region or city and say to whoever the stakeholder is interested, listen, in this area, you have a lot of incidents regarding where you are storing, for instance, your electoral material. So all candidates are more likely to be attacked in that area. So the analysis will help to have a global nationwide analysis of the different type of incidents that are occurring. Also in the Situation Room, you will have the data analysis team and then the response team. The response team, they will be the ones that decide, based on the situation that are happening, the type of response that you will be given. So you can have different type of response depending on the different type of incident. If it's an electoral, it can be the electoral commission. If it's a criminal, it can be the police. or if it's a question that can be solved through dialogue, it will be through those in the response team, the lower in the countries, that will actually try to initiate dialogue so that that incident doesn't escalate into further violence. So, as I said earlier, the IT platform. So the IT platform allows you to collect data, allows you, once the data is collected, through the monitors, to verify that, let's say, incident. And that's very important, because obviously you don't want to be disinformed with fake fake data and incidents. So the data is collected through the three different systems. One of our monitors will verify, or at a high level within the situation room, will verify through other sources whether that incident has or has not occurred. And this is at the heart. Then, once you are able to verify this, and it takes a lot of obviously a lot of time, but is also based on that verification that you provide correct information to the stakeholders. So that process of verification is key, as is key, obviously, the development of indicators, but the verification is absolutely key to be credible in your response. Same goes on the training of the analysis, because you need to extrapolate and to try and have either a regional or a national analysis, so that you can really give a response that will enhance the credibility of the elections. So you can see, I don't know if you see this on the screen, there's a map here. So on this map, you will see live where the incidents are occurring. So whenever the analysis, if it's on the app, the analysis team won't have to do anything beside verifying it, but you will see the incident live. So the map will tell you the type of incident and where it is happening. And then, this is very interesting, because with your mouse, you can click into the region, you can click into the city, and you can click down to the incident, and it will tell you all the details of the incident and what has been done with that incident. So whether there's been a response or not a response. As I said, not to repeat the indicators. The indicators are really key. And usually we let really national, we facilitate these workshops, and we facilitate it in a manner that we let every stakeholders, the different type, let's say, highlight what is in their view or their interests. So obviously, the CSO indicator will be different from those of an electoral commission or from a human rights commission. So we put them together to get to an agreement. It's not a compromise, because we can have a very long list of indicators, but we try to really focus it on the period we are, pre-electoral, electoral, or post-electoral. And usually, once they are tested, they are redefined if need be. Also, what we do is that if early warning systems, this one, the peculiarity of this early warning system is that it tries to put state institutions and CSO together. But you have other early warning systems that are only managed by civil society organization or by state institutions. In that case, we coordinate also to understand whether the indicators that have been identified are the correct one, or whether we're not missing on other indicators that should be in the platform. So this exercise takes a lot of time, but is very crucial in the success of the future early warning. Let me give you a couple of examples. So we are currently developing this in Ethiopia, in Burkina Faso, in Côte d'Ivoire, and in Zambia. So maybe let me start with Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire is in fact the only country where it has been tested in the implementation of an election. So election occurred on the 31st of October, and it was a very tense, within a very tense environment. So the early warning was very much, welcomed. It was, in this case, an early warning system that was managed by the Electoral Commission and the Human Rights Commission. And the reason is that both had the access to the information that was coming to the platform through the different monitors that were deployed throughout the country. These monitors were women mainly monitors, but also from other CSOs that were trained in dialogue to, let's say, solve issues through dialogue. But these were over 1,000 people, 1,500 people actually, that were providing that type of information. So what will be important, and I think I will give some tools, some, let's say, aspects that are interesting in every of these countries. So in Côte d'Ivoire, first of all, we realized that our initial assessment of having different types of gathering the information and feeding it to the platform was essential. That it is not possible to think that through an app is sufficient, or through a phone call is sufficient, or through an SMS. You need to adapt to where you are. For the time being, we have 3. If we will need more, we may do it with more through, for instance, in areas where none of the 3, you could do it through satellite phones and so on. So there are different manners that we are foreseeing. Lastly, in Côte d'Ivoire, what's going to be interesting is to do an evaluation and an after-action review. This is going to happen in the next 10 days. We're going to have a conference with all the stakeholders, understand how it worked, how it did not work, how to improve it. And also, it will be the passage to the Human Rights Commission. Now, the Human Rights Commission is going to be the main beneficiary of this platform and will work in the long term. So we are going to redesign it to ensure that it operates in the long term. What was positive in Côte d'Ivoire was also the fact that a lot of the information, as this developed, actually arrived through the platform before it had arrived, for instance, at the police HQ. So we were informed of, those who were in the situation room were informed of incidents prior to other stakeholders at their HQ, such as some of the security forces. So it was useful. All stakeholders did see usefulness in this early warning system, and they were able to intervene ahead in most cases. So those who were getting that information, if it did not get into the HQ of the police, for instance, or through dialogue or the Electoral Commission as a response, then they would intervene and ensure that this happened. In Zambia, I would say what's important to highlight in Zambia is in its design stage. We are currently designing it. We've just deployed the mission that has developed the indicators and has developed the infrastructure, how it's going to work. What's important there is what I was talking earlier is complementarity. So here there was a system called conflict management committees that was managed by electoral commissions at different levels of the country, at the regional and at the lower level. But these were needed. In fact, IT helps them to communicate better and to gather information in a unified manner and at the national level. And all can have access to see what is happening in the entire system. So I would say that what was important here was to help what was already existing, a conflict management committee that was very large, where you had both actors from religious leaders, to Human Rights Commission, Electoral Commission, security forces, and so on, traditional leaders, civil society, political parties, and so on. So it helps them to really design how they're going to respond and how they're going to input the information. So it has put a structure, but also it has informatized. So put some IT, it has digitalized what was existing. And this has been extremely welcome by the national counterparts. And as I said, we are at the moment, now it has been agreed with the national stakeholders how the structure will be and how the IT is going to look like. And our company now is customizing our IT platform. In Côte d'Ivoire, I will not go further. I already explained, but here it was interesting because it was a dual electoral commission and human rights commission. Here, I would say one of the lessons learned, initial lessons learned, is that working with an electoral commission is very interesting, but during election time is complicated because obviously they're very busy in organizing the election. So in fact, one of the lessons learned is perhaps having a bigger role for Human Rights Commission and letting Electoral Commission have a full access, but be less involved in, let's say, providing the information to the platform. Because a week prior to election and a week after the election, in fact, when most of the violence do occur, they are busy with the operation of the election. So that's why this is one of the lessons learned of Côte d'Ivoire, but nevertheless, this is not set in stone. It will be really depending country by country what the realities are. In Burkina Faso, also, one of our expert and staff member is there as I'm speaking, and this person is now designing it. In this case, is working mainly with the Human Rights Commission. There is a platform led by civil society, and that is also connected to a situation room. Nevertheless, the Human Rights Commission was not as involved, so we ensured that the Human Rights Commission was involved into the existing structure, and also ensured that the Human Rights Commission, after the election, was able to operate. So we are developing their structure throughout the country. For this election, they are mainly working in the areas where the other existing systems were not operating. So we are only operating in the hot areas where it will be able to complement what is already existing. So this is the first phase. So we adapt, and in the second phase, which will look at the local elections in 2021, it will expand the decentralization, and it will then operate everywhere. One also additional feature that was asked specifically for Burkina Faso was disinformation. So this platform will also look at issues around disinformation and will help specific actors, media commissions, but not necessarily only media commission, it will be also journalists. But we will be integrated and developing a separate software that will be linked to the early warning system. Lastly, is the issue of Ethiopia. Ethiopia was also postponed, the election was postponed, but what was interesting in Ethiopia is that through the project in Ethiopia, we have developed the first stage of the platform. And also, it was the first time that we developed, let's say, the indicators. So the entire work of the indicators was done through Ethiopia, and it's a system that is managed by the Electoral Commission only, and it relies on joint electoral operation centers throughout the country and regional, national and region, and further down. But for the sake of this presentation, I would say that what was important in Ethiopia as a lessons learned was the way in which I already explained the importance of the indicators. I think that I've went over my time. I will now let any questions that you may have. So I have one question on the costs of well, this obviously the costs changes very much according to the country. So it means that the infrastructure will also have a huge impact, and what you will have to actually buy to make it happen, the phones and so on. The platform is free of charge because it has been developed. So the cost associated to the customization is very low. I mean, compared to the actual development, which was in fact very expensive.